demons, possessions, demons, ghosts, demons. So I'm gonna exorcise you. Thank you, I love you. Oh, hey.
Hey.
What's up?
Not much. What's up with you?
I'm here.
Living the dream.
I can't stand that phrase.
Living
I seriously can't
the
stand it when
dream.
people are like, I'm living the dream. I'm like, no, you're not. You're just saying that because you're dead inside.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. Same here.
It has been crazy hot out and disgustingly wet.
Because it's Florida and we're in hurricane season.
I know. So the other day, I was getting ready to leave work, and they would not let me leave work because we were in a tornado warning, and they forced all of us to go into our tornado shelter because a few miles away, there was the vortex that was forming,
Yeah.
but it didn't touch down. So
That was
was it Wednesday?
I think it was Wednesday. Or Thursday.
It was one of them. I just wanted to get home. It was literally 3 minutes before my out time.
I'm pretty sure it was Thursday. Ugh. It was one of those days where I left early. It was good that I left like 30 minutes early because then if I didn't, I would have had to drive through that.
Yeah, it was bad.
And that would have been awful.
It took me, so I normally get out of work around like 5:30, 5:45, depending on the day. And I was 3 minutes away from getting out at 5:30, and then all of the managers came down and were like, all right, we're putting everybody in the tornado shelter, grab your belongings and stuff. Our tornado shelter is literally a hallway.
Oh, that's fun.
And part of that hallway is a glass wall that leads into our lunchroom that is pure windows. So
explain to me how that's a tornado shelter.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ. That's
and so, we were stuck in this hallway for like 30 minutes.
Oh my God.
Before we could do anything. And then it took me a solid hour and a half to get home. Mind you, I live 10 to 15 minutes away from where I work.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So that was the highlight of my week.
Yay!
And I know it's been 2 weeks, but that's pretty much just been the highlight of whatever.
Yeah. No, I've just been working and coming home and working and then coming home and working. Nothing really too crazy. But like recently for some reason, and I don't understand why, but for the last like couple of days, I was thinking back to this time where I was in Connecticut, when I used to live in Connecticut, and I was driving by Newgate Prison at night, and as I was driving by it, I saw these two guys carrying something into the woods, and literally what it looked like they were carrying was like a body bag.
Ooh.
Like something, like, and I'm just like, I don't know why this is replaying in my head.
Question.
Answer.
Was it during the day or
It was
at night?
It was at night. It wasn't during the day. It was definitely at night.
Spooky.
Very. So like I posted it on my Facebook and I was like, yeah, so this is something that's been kind of replaying in my head for the last couple of days. And all my friends are like, you should totally report it. And I'm like, but it was like almost 20 years ago. This is like a long ass time ago. Like long ass time. I was like 18, 19.
Yeah.
Roughly and I'm like 36 now. I'm old. So it was like a long ass time ago, but all my friends are like, you should totally report it. Cause what if it actually is something and it turns
What
into
if it's
something?
coming back to light? Like they're slowly finding stuff.
I don't know.
Maybe subconsciously, or maybe you're connected to the spirit somehow. And
maybe
it's
it's
like,
trying, hey, you should probably report something. Be like, hey, you should probably check that trail to see if there's a dead body buried in there.
Or like, hey, remember that one time?
I don't even know like if that would even be
Google
helpful.
stuff. See if I'll appear.
I literally tried Googling to see if there were like any dead bodies that were found in the last like 15 years in that area.
Nothing.
And the thing is like East Granby itself, like when it comes to crimes, there's like nothing. The last time there was any form of a murder that happened in East Granby was like there was a stabbing of like some kid that was from out of town. It was like a group of kids. They would party out in the woods, and there was a fight that happened, and some kid was stabbed. But he wasn't from East Granby. He was from out of town. So,
But were the kids that stabbed him from East Granby?
no.
Oh, so they were
No,
all...
they were just
So
they
they
just
were
they were
just-
just someone from out of town that were just in the area.
Must be nice living in such a safe area.
I know, right? I forgot what it felt like.
That's nothing in Florida.
I know, right? It's like, oh, hey, someone was stabbed again last night. Oh, again? Oh, there was another shooting? Oh, okay.
Oh, what school was it? Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, too soon.
Too soon. Anyway, off of that topic.
Yeah, let's get off of that topic of murder and shit. Yeah, maybe I will report it. Who knows? I mean, I just got to figure out, like,
How you're going to be like, hey, so...
how am I going to bring this up?
Like 13 years ago.
14, 15, 20 years ago, I was driving by Newgate Prison and I saw two people going into the woods carrying something that looked like a body in a bag. I mean, I don't know how else to elaborate on that.
Crime Line.
It's like I don't know how else to. I don't even know how else to elaborate on that. I really don't. So it's like.
Sometimes it takes a while for, stuff to come to light. So, better late than never.
So.
Let's talk spooky stuff.
Let's talk the spookies. So today's topic is
asylums.
Haunted asylums. So, yeah. Did you want to go first on this one?
Of course.
Sure.
Always.
Let's go first on this one. Go ahead.
All right. So today I will be talking about the Athens Lunatic Asylum.
Ooh.
Yeah, so in January of 1874, the hospital began its operation. It was first named the Athens Hospital for the Insane, and within 2 years it was renamed Athens Asylum for the Insane and continued operating under several different names until its closure as the Ridges Mental Institution in 1993.
Okay.
And the idea to actually build this asylum began after the Civil War, and the area that they chose to build the asylum in was originally made up of 141 acres, and over the year it quickly grew to over 1,000 acres.
Oh, Jesus.
So it was pretty big area, and it's mostly farm fields, gardening, greenhouses, orchards, and livestock areas. And the asylum itself was considered a holistic institution and considered to be the first Victorian-style mental hospital in North America.
Okay.
And the patients were actually subjected to gardening, counseling, and prolonged periods of fresh air. So it was not a torture sort of asylum.
Oh, so they actually cared about their patients and actually treated them like humans?
When it first opened, yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, wait, I got my hopes up.
The institution did not use torture by any means to treat patients, which is at that time beautiful considering it was 1874.
Yeah, exactly.
But also the institute for many years was Athens, Ohio's largest employer because they could get away with using their patients to take care of the livestock, the gardening.
Yeah, why hire people when you have the free labor right there?
Exactly.
Yeah. But also use it as an excuse of, well, you're getting out in the fresh air and we're giving you something to do instead of just sitting in your room being idle, I guess, right?
Exactly. And so it was the largest employer in Athens, Ohio, which means, the institute started to get greedier and greedier with all this free, without having to pay their patients, generating all this income. They started admitting pretty much anybody.
Oh, Jesus.
Yep. The number of patients admitted to the hospital grew, and to make matters worse, the hospital had gained reputations as good places to dump family members that you couldn't afford to take care for. And also it filled up with the elderly, the homeless, and rebellious teenagers being taught lessons by their parents.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Hey, you know what? Oh my God, that must have been one hell of a threat. It's like, hey, if you don't shape up, I'm going to send you to this, the sanatorium, the insane asylum.
The insane asylum.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Seriously, I'm glad that wasn't a thing back when I was younger because I would have gotten thrown in a heartbeat. Jesus.
I feel the same too. Oh my gosh.
My poor parents.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for them for
Yeah,
what they had to put up with.
So by the 1950s, the Ridges housed nearly 2,000 patients, over 3 times its capacity.
Oh, Jesus.
And yet the staff numbers never changed.
What?
By the end of the 1950s, the treatments that had been previously used for years altered to drugs and made it difficult for patients to execute their jobs. So then they also started performing lobotomies and other harmful treatments on their patients due to the now discredited theories that of causes of mental illnesses.
Yeah.
This is actually the Athens, Ohio State Asylum is now actually part of the Ohio State University.
Oh.
They bought out the land to keep records, and pretty much they do have certain areas that are still in use.
Yeah.
However, the insane asylum has not been since 1993.
Yeah. It's just a school now, right? Or part of, okay.
Yeah, so the Ohio University Archives collection contains records unfolding information regarding the employees' background training. Some were fully trained, and some were not trained at all how to deal with mental disabilities.
So they were probably just like brought off on the street because back then, I mean, if you have a hospital where you have like a very high ratio of patients to workers, I would assume they would probably just to get any kind of help. They would just hire anybody off the street.
You look like you can.
You look like you can hold your own, right?
Another thing is that some of the employees lived on the grounds and some did not. But the most shocking information within the employee records is the evidence and documentation of hydrotherapy, electroshock, lobotomy, and psychotropic drugs, some of which have been discredited today as extremely inhumane ways of treating patients. So it went from this very pleasant place to
Hell.
to exactly hell.
Just hell on earth. Oh, God.
Yeah. So by adding the invention of shock therapy and lobotomy to the mix, you have a recipe for a nightmare.
God, yes, you do.
Patients were regularly restrained for days at a time in crowded rooms meant for one and beaten by cruel hospital staff. The Athens Lunatic Asylum was known for providing services to a variety of patients who were declared mentally unwell, and most patients were women who suffered from hysteria and postpartum depression.
Oh, Jesus.
They were labeled as insane and sent to Athens to recover. However, the first patient in the history of the asylum was a 12-year-old girl who suffered from epilepsy, and they thought she was possessed by a demon.
Oh, here we go again.
Yes. I feel like I have this...
Here we go again on our own into the demon world of possessions and epilepsy. Jesus.
Yep. And the leading cause of insanity among the male patients was masturbation.
Oh, my God.
Yep. In a report in 1876, it stated that the majority of male and female patients were hospitalized due to excessive masturbation.
Oh, my God.
The second most common cause of insanity was intemperance and dissipation.
The fuck?
Yeah.
Like, no, what the fuck is that? No, like, seriously, what the fuck is that?
So just being, like, impatient and having tempers and...
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh, shit, yeah. I would have been in there a long time ago.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, God. Oh, God, yeah.
So in the hospital's first 3 years of operation, 81 men and 71 women were diagnosed as having their insanity caused by masturbation.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
56 men and one woman was diagnosed with having their insanity caused by intemperance and dissipation during the same period of time. For the female patients hospitalized during these first 3 years of the asylum's operation, the three leading causes of insanity are recorded as perpetual condition, changing of life, and menstrual derangements.
So PMS.
PMS, having irregular periods.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Epilepsy was also considered a major cause of insanity and the reason for admission to the hospital in the early years. The first annual report lists 31 men and 19 women as having their insanity caused by epilepsy. General ill health accounted for the admission of 39 men and 42 women in the first 3 years, and ailments such as menopause, alcohol addiction, and tuberculosis were also cause for enrollment. The hospital did close its doors in 1993. However, the institution of the state hospital continued to function in Athens, with patients and staff relocating to a newly constructed facility, which at the time of the transition in 1993 was called the Southeast Psychiatric Hospital.
Hopefully their practices got better since then and they didn't treat their patients like shit. Oh, Jesus.
So yeah, just imagine being in this hospital because you have a shitty period.
Yep. Again,
And PMS. Oh my
everything that
God.
you listed, almost everything that you listed,
Everybody
would have
deals
been.
with.
I would have been admitted a long time ago.
No wonder it was overstaffed. They just kept sending people that were like, oh shit, that sounds like the person that was just here 2 minutes ago.
You are literally just you were just a tad bit off. So here you go. Oh dear God.
Yes, so on to the hauntings. So the first haunting we'll talk about is by a patient with the name Margaret Schilling. She disappeared on December 1st in 1979.
Huh.
Despite the best or poor efforts of the hospital staff, Margaret was nowhere to be found on the grounds. It wasn't until 42 days later that her body was discovered, locked in a long abandoned ward once used for patients with infectious illnesses.
Oh Jesus.
Tests show that she died of heart failure. However, she was found completely naked, her clothing folded neatly next to her body, and worse yet, to the horror of those who found her, Margaret had decayed so much that a gooey imprint of her body had seeped into the concrete.
Oh my God.
And much to everyone's dismay, the stain could not be scrubbed out no matter how hard they tried. To this day, the lonely outline of her body can still be seen on the top floor of the asylum. Some say that on clear nights, Margaret can still be seen trying to escape the room where she died.
So I literally just looked up that picture.
It's disgusting. It's literally an outline of a body.
It's literally just a body.
Yeah.
Just a white mark of a body on the floor.
Concrete, yeah.
That is so crazy. And that's like an actual stain. Like you can see the
Yeah.
head and the arms and the hips and oh my God.
All of it.
What the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
That's disgusting.
Another crazy and creepy fact about this asylum is that everyone who ever died on property was put into the graveyard. However, no names were used. They were literally buried with a headstone of a number.
Oh my gosh.
And it wasn't until the 40s, after a law passed, that they had to identify the bodies of the patients that had died on property, that they started using names. However, they never changed anyone up until the 40s. So if you still go there, there's still people just with numbers.
And they
on their
didn't have any of
headstones.
those like documented anywhere, like, hey, at this grave number, whoever is
Nope.
this person. Oh Jesus.
Yeah, that's what
So
a
there's
big
no
thing
records
of
of that.
there's no records of who was there, what they died from, sort of thing. And that's why kind of I believe the Ohio State University bought it out, is because they wanted to at least get as much information from this hospital as possible so that they could put more names on the tombs, like the headstones.
Yeah.
And also get closure for those people. They wanted to get information, trying to find maybe hidden records and stuff. So they've been going through and doing that for quite a while.
Yeah.
And a good
for the
amount of them
families.
have, there has been some that they did find records from that people kept just on their person, like from staff who used to work there.
Oh wow.
So they got that information and was able to label some people with names and, their ages, their date of birth, their death date. But
Oh, that's
most
good.
of them are still listed as numbers.
Oh my goodness.
Yep, and that is the Athens Lunatic Asylum.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Do you want to hear you want to hear about another crazy asylum?
Yeah.
So, my story is about Waverly Hills, one of the most infamous of the infamous of haunted asylums. This one's always been kind of like a favorite of mine. So I was like, let's talk about that one. So the Waverly Hills Sanatorium is a closed sanitarium located in southwestern Louisville / Jefferson County of Kentucky.
Okay.
It opened in 1910 as a 2-story hospital to accommodate 40 to 50 tuberculosis patients. In the early 1900s, Jefferson County was ravaged by an outbreak of tuberculosis, also known as the White Plague, which prompted the construction of a new hospital. The hospital closed in 1961 due to the antibiotic drug streptomycin that lowered the needs for such a hospital. So due to the nature of tuberculosis, the hospital operated as its own self-contained community to keep patients isolated from those without the diseases. The hospital was so large that it even had its own zip code.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. It had its own zip code, post office, water treatment facility, gardens, and livestock so that the patients had everything that they needed to live removed from the outside world. However, they were not always completely isolated. They would allow loved ones to come in during visitor days and everything, so that's good. But because tuberculosis was such a contagious disease, early treatments were rigorous, although in most cases unfounded and unsuccessful. Treatments included having patients exposed to fresh air, sitting out on patios and porches, no matter the weather, be it rain, snow, or sun. So if you actually do like a Google search, like a Google image search of Waverly Hills Sanitarium, you can actually see like pictures that were taken of all these beds just pulled out of the rooms and just lined up in the hallway outside with like
To get the
with the
sunlight
open
in.
windows just to get the fresh air, quote unquote.
God, imagine having tuberculosis and then it's snowing outside and they push you into this damn hall.
Yeah, right?
Ugh. Talk about death by hypothermia.
Yeah. So some patients were treated in rooms with artificial UV light meant to penetrate their lungs and to kill off unwanted bacteria. But there were more bloody and often deadly treatments of the diseases that also included inserting balloons into the lungs to expand them, or by even removing some ribs and muscles so that the lungs could expand further on their own.
Ooh.
That's... Ugh. So it wasn't until as I said about the antibiotics in 1943 that basically caused tuberculosis to become on a decline. But even so, after World War II, the tuberculosis experienced a spike in cases when soldiers began to return home with it. So many were treated at Waverly but died due to how advanced the cases had become by the time that they arrived at the hospital. So the number of deaths that occurred at Waverly Hills in a year sometimes reached as high as 152. And during its operation between the years of 1911 and 1961, it is believed that around 6,000 people died there.
Oh, wow.
And the thing is that when people died, in order to prevent patients from seeing these people, like these dead people being wheeled past or anything like that, they had this thing called the body chute. And so what they would do, and the body chute was also used, in the wintertime to bring up supplies, like food and supplies and everything like that from in town, and it would go up the hill. But the body chute was used to just bring bodies down.
Well, I always thought the body chute, wasn't it like they would put them in like the metal containers?
Metal containers.
And just wheel them in this creepy hall, like underground thing and just...
Well, that was a tunnel, because there was a tunnel.
Okay.
And because there are tunnels that are under there. And then they had that body chute that was literally just like...
Was it connected to each room? Is that what you said?
No. So the body chute is outside, and it's basically like a ramp. And on one side is stairs, and on the other side is like this little rail system that they would put bodies in, like cars, and then they would...
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, exactly. And they would, basically like a little train thing or whatever, like a little cart system, like a mine cart system.
Yeah, mine cart. Yeah.
Mine cart. There we go.
That's the word.
Yeah, they would just, lower them down, and that's how they would dispose of the bodies.
Did they just leave them there? Or
No,
did
I mean, the bodies would be picked up by coroners or whoever and then taken off somewhere. But, I mean, that's...
Because that would be just...
Yeah, we're just going to just throw them down the body chute and leave them there. No, from what I understand, that's where they would pick up the bodies. But they had it there so that way patients wouldn't see the bodies being or whatever.
Oh, where's Carol? She was here yesterday.
I know, right?
She's gone. Maybe she got free.
Oh, yeah, speaking of the death chute. So
Sorry.
That was my next note. The volume of deaths were so high that doctors worried about patients' morale and mental health, and repurposed the tunnel that had been used to move supplies up the hill in winter into a discreet way to move out the dead of the hospital and to the bottom of the hill, where they were out of sight and able to be cremated or collected by family members. The body chute, also known as the death tunnel, was 545 feet long and used a rail car system to transport bodies from both the first floor and the basement of the hospital. The hospital officially closed in 1961, but reopened a year later with a new purpose. So in 1962, Waverly Hills reopened as Woodhaven Geriatrics Sanitarium for the care of the elderly. The old folks' home was troubled by multiple budget cuts that made it difficult to properly care for its patients, and abuses began again. Electric shock therapy was used to treat, quote unquote, many of the elderly within Woodhaven, regardless of their condition, and the facility was closed by the state in 1982, the year I was born. That's crazy. Oof. You know, it's really crazy listening to these things, like, and hearing these stories, and you're like, oh yeah, and it closed in like, as yours closed like what, 1993 or something?
93. It was what, like 3 or 4 years after I was born.
Yeah, so like 1993 for you, which means I was like 11 years old when that happened, and this was like in 1982.
It's crazy that these things were still happening. Yeah.
Yeah,
no, yeah.
That's like these things were a thing when I was alive and when you were alive.
It's probably still happening.
Oh, it most likely is still happening today.
And that's just freaking ridiculous.
Yep,
like,
exactly.
That's why I hate the stigma that comes around mental health. No, we need to be trained better in it. Medical professionals need to be trained better in it.
They do need to be trained better in it.
Law enforcement officers need to be trained in it.
Oh my God, yes.
Everybody needs to be trained in it.
Exactly. Let's not make it a stigma, people, because mental health is a real thing.
Yes, we all deal with it.
Yep, in some form or way, or however, on different levels, some more than others.
Exactly.
So... But anyway, so there were multiple plans of what to do with the property after Woodhaven was closed. None of them were actually realized. And in 2001, Waverly was bought out by new owners who are now working on to preserve and restore the building that had fallen into disrepair.
Okay.
So now on to the ghosts.
Spooky stuff.
The spooky stuff. The stuff that you came here for.
Not just our history lessons.
Not just our history lesson. I was literally thinking the same thing. I was like, you're not here for history. You're here for ghosts. History, though, I mean, you can't really talk about the ghosts without the history. That's the thing, because that's the only way that you can understand just how crazy this place was, because, you know, that's how you can understand why there is so many ghostly activities or paranormal activity, because of just how insane, no pun intended, this place was. So the first one, a young girl can be seen on the 3rd floor running down the halls. And I might know, actually, when it came to the Waverly Hills Sanitarium, sometimes if it was like a single parent or just a family, sometimes the kids would also be with the family, and they would basically have them in a kids area, in a sense, so the kids would be admitted with the family. Wow. So yeah, it was kind of sad. There's also a young boy who loves to play with balls. The little boy's name is Timmy. There have been a number of videos, actually. So if you just do a Google search of like Timmy Waverly Hills or something like that, you'll find videos of people that would bring like a little toy ball, and they would
play with it.
Yeah, he would play with them, and they would just put it on the floor, and then they'd be like, "Hey, Timmy, go ahead and move the ball," and the ball would just slowly start to move. And and if you just put it there, it's like there's nothing there to make it move on its own. Oh, it's so cool. There's also an apparition of a hearse there's an apparition of a hearse delivering coffins to the facility. So like an apparition of a car. That has to be like more residual hauntings, though.
I want to say, yeah, that's definitely residual.
There's also a woman bleeding from the wrist who begs for help from visitors. People have reported seeing doppelgangers. There are
of themselves?
Either of themselves or of people that they know.
That's so creepy.
Yes, doppelgangers are terrifying.
That could also be like a past life thing, though.
It could also be a past life thing, too. Yeah, there's a number of things. Numerous shadow people, there's also an inhuman entity who crawls along the floors, walls, and ceilings, giving guests the feeling of dread.
No.
They also named that one the Crawler. And
No.
there was one of our last episodes. There was something where I notated about the Crawler. There was another Crawler. So I feel like the Crawler is like a blanket term of this kind of spirit, because that, and also like Hat Man and stuff like that. The body chute has a lot of paranormal activity that's involved with it, being like just like EVP, like whispers and banging. In the kitchen, there is a man who will walk around in a white coat. Sometimes you can smell the cooking of freshly baked bread, despite the kitchen not being operational. Ooh. Apparently, the 5th floor has the most activity. There's been reports of children playing in rooms, apparitions of patients roaming the halls, shadowy figures passing by the doorways, and also lights coming from windows as if they were still occupied. Volunteers who worked on the restoration project have also experienced being struck by unknown forces, objects being thrown at them, objects and tools being moved, doors slamming shut, as well as apparitions in the doorway and halls. The 5th floor is also home of the nurses' station, the linen room, pantry, and 2 rooms, one of which being 502. And apparently the room 502 is one of the most haunted rooms. There's very little evidence to what I'm about to say, but apparently one of the reasons why is that in 1928, an unmarried nurse hung herself after finding out she was pregnant. And also in 1932, another nurse jumped out of the window. Others say she was pushed. But from that room, people have seen shapes moving, lights in the room from the outside, and also heard disembodied voices. Oh. Yeah. So there is, I was kind of browsing the Reddits, and I came across this one story.
Shout out to Reddit.
Right? This story was posted on Reddit by GXDMN Batgirl1. GXDMN Batgirl. And it's listed as Waverly Hills, my experience in a haunted sanitarium. I kind of wanted to read this one because I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So shout out to this GXDM and Batgirl for posting this on Reddit.
Yeah, shout out to you.
So she says, hello all, a fellow Redditor asked me to share a post about some experiences I had while investigating Waverly Hills Sanitarium in Louisville, Kentucky. I've been researching and investigating the paranormal since 1998. I do have my own team, visited some of the most notoriously haunted locations in the U.S., and I should also mention that I'm sensitive, and this gift does enhance my investigations. So she says that she visited Waverly Hills back in July of 2012 and had 3 other investigators with her, Eric, Tommy, and Debbie. She says if you've seen the building, it's worth looking it up. It's huge and incredible to see in person. She says it'll be hard for me to sum up my experiences without going into great detail because I feel that the full effects of these experiences can only be truly felt by the vivid descriptions. I will do my best. This was the only place I've ever investigated that made me uneasy enough to want to leave, but this sensation only came over me when my team and I entered the 5th floor. Legends state that when the hospital was in operation between 1910 and 1961, a nurse had an affair with a doctor and became pregnant. Not only that, she also had contracted tuberculosis. The disease at the sanitarium was determined to cure. Unable to handle the stresses of her transgressions and unable to bear the thought of a child being born with this disease, she performed her own abortion and threw the baby into the sewer system, and then she hanged herself. Note, this claim is not conclusively substantiated, and it's basically just legend or folklore. I'm not saying this is the particular entity I encountered here. I'm just including this as background. Hospital staff as well as patients contracted TB and passed away from the disease. So the entity I interacted with here at Waverly could have been one of those nurses.
Mm-hmm. That's just so scary, like thinking of working in one of these places and then just contracting
something that, that's always terrifying. She said, at Waverly, once we reached the 5th floor, I became extremely apprehensive. Usually, I will be at the front of my team guiding them to particular locations according to the strengths of the energies in the building. Sometimes I will follow up behind in an effort to sort of protect my teammates. In this particular case, I did neither. Feeling incredibly nervous, I put my back up against the wall and would not move away from it. I tried to maintain my composure as best as I could, but I felt safer and less exposed. I wanted so badly to leave, but I knew that I could not abandon an investigation or my team. In my uncomfortable state, I pressed on, leading my team on an EVP session. We began asking basic questions to try to see if there were any intelligent entities with us. One investigator stated that we wouldn't judge her for what had happened to her and that it was safe for her to talk to us. After a few moments of silence, I heard footsteps walking around us, and later on I reviewed the audio. I heard 4 very clear footsteps, which sounded like ladies' heel shoes clicking on linoleum. It was a fast-paced walk, as if she had somewhere important to be. Perhaps a doctor required her assistance in surgery. This would lead to other experiences throughout the night. After the 5th floor, we made our way back down to the 1st floor. I moved around according to the pull of the energy in the building, to the electric shock therapy room. In here, we decided to separate, which each of us in different corner of the room. We decided to conduct a SB7 spirit box session, and we were not disappointed. We started the usual introductory statements and asked the usual questions. What I look for is for intelligence, so I try to elicit real-time responses from any entities which might be present. So I said out loud that we came a long way to speak with them, and we had traveled all the way from New York. I asked if they knew where New York was, and a female voice came through the box and said north. Having received an intelligent response, I asked if she could tell me the name of any one person in the team. The same female voice came through again and said Thomas. Naturally, we were impressed. We continued on. Having received 2 intelligent responses, both in the same female's voice, I said, I'm hearing a female. Do we have a lady here? Came the next was disturbing. 3 different voices, dark voices, came through, joining together, saying, don't speak with her. This sent chills down my spine. Oof. Ooh.
Oof.
That's not
That
okay.
is big oof energy. Ooh.
And that's the crazy thing, too. I mean, I've heard of a number of instances where there's like, if there's like a number of entities in one location, sometimes one entity is stronger than the others and it will basically keep
The other one.
the other ones kind of in check and, or either in check or just in prison, like imprisonment type of thing.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. I started asking questions like, who am I speaking with now? And why can't I speak with her? And what do you want with her? I told them they had no right to keep her, and I told them to let her go. And if they ever did, I don't know. We did not receive another response from those dark voices, nor did we hear from the nurse. So we moved on. Next, we went back upstairs, and this time the 4th floor's main operating room. Liking the idea of using trigger objects, I brought dust masks with us to simulate the doctor's masks. In this room, Eric took the role as the doctor. We started another spirit box session, and Tommy asked, do we have any nurses here who can help us? A female voice said yes. I then asked, do we have a nurse here? Can you come over to the doctor and let him know that you're here and that you're ready? Again, the female voice said, here. I asked, you're here? Nurse, how many patients do we have on the list today? The female voice responds, 3. My theory here is that she recognized Eric as the doctor. Perhaps she thought the other 3 of us were patients. The conversation continued. What's the first step? The nurse said, give him first aid. We asked more questions like this, but she did not respond. The next question she did respond to was mine, approximately 4 minutes after her previous response. She said, I asked, can you tell us any of our names? We are the doctors. And the nurse just said 3. We continued trying to converse with her, but this was the last response she gave us, and I felt there were a few moments of silence and she had left the room. So my final encounter with the nurse of Waverly Hills happened after our investigation. We had ended at 3 a.m. We had gathered up all our gear and headed back down to the gift shop, which had been designated as headquarters for the evening. Our tour guide stayed down there while we conducted our investigation, but when we got back there, he had asked us if any of us would be willing to go back into the building with him so he could lock up. Of course, we all volunteered to go, and so we did. No longer feeling uneasy, I followed up the back of the group, hoping to get a few moments away from everyone to experience the last bit of energy that Waverly Hills was willing to share with me. As I was walking past a very large room, I distinctly heard a woman speaking, and it had definite female vocal tones, and she spoke a full sentence as if having a conversation with someone else. Unfortunately, I could not make out what she was saying, but I knew for a fact I heard her disembodied voice with my own ears. This was a really amazing experience for me, as I'd never had such a strong connection with the spirit before. The nurse was with us from the beginning of our investigation until the very end, saving that last bit of evidence just for me. She made the night truly special, one I will certainly never forget. I can't wait to go back there and investigate again. I wonder if she'll remember me.
That's so creepy.
That is like the creepiest, craziest story that I've saw.
But it's gonna also be really awesome to be so connected to situations like that, to where you can get a response.
Right? I would love.
I feel like I would have been.
Oop. Sorry about that, Emma. Here, let's plug this in before we start. Go ahead. Okay. So anyway, as we were saying,
That's just gotta be so cool to be that connected. I feel like many people try to get these experiences and then they fall short.
yeah,
And she was just like, she got responses, man.
I would love to go on an investigation somewhere and get like those kind of responses, because I just want to go on an investigation. Period. I personally have never been on an investigation. I mean, I've had things happen to me. I've seen things, heard things, but I would like to go.
Cheers from the Graves now becomes paranormal investigators.
Oh my God, that would pom pom pom. But seriously, I mean, I would love. That is definitely something I would love to do sometime. So maybe we gotta look that up at some point. See if we can go on some kind of somewhere that does investigations, like the lighthouse. I would love to go. The lighthouse does investigations. At St. Augustine.
There's so many places I want to go. I want to follow that haunted road trip across the U.S.
Yes. I love road trips.
Yes.
Oh, goodness.
But yeah, wow.
That was crazy. So I saw something the other night in this house.
Oh no.
I was walking down the hallway, and as I was passing the stairs, I thought I saw somebody turning the corner to walk up the stairs. And I looked back, and there was nobody there.
Oof.
It was a shadow person of some form. I'm just like, cool. It's probably the same one that decided to move our laundry basket a couple months ago.
I feel like I've been seeing a lot of stuff out of the corner of my eye lately.
I think it's just probably because if we're just going to sit here and we're opening up ourselves more.
Yeah.
When we are not really investigating, when we're researching this stuff and talking about it, I feel like we're kind of opening up ourselves more.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially with Robert the doll.
Oh yeah, about that. I got my car back.
That's good.
I finally got my car back. After, what, you okay? What is that? Oh, is that a scooter?
That's a kid's scooter.
That is the cutest
Sorry.
little moped scooter thingy I've ever seen in my life. That's adorable. But anyway, yes, I got my car back, finally.
Good.
So, oh my God. Yeah, I'm never going to talk about that ever again. Because that, which reminds me, I should probably point out that Cheers from the Grave is not responsible for any possessions, hauntings, or possessions, hauntings, or possessions. Cheers from the Grave is not responsible for any hauntings or possessions you may encounter while listening to this episode. Just throwing that out there.
Or any episode.
We are not responsible for anything that happens. You are listening at your own risk.
Exactly.
Just FYI on this.
And as we research at our own risk as well.
Yeah, exactly. You're listening to this at your own risk. So, but anyway, things. Oh yeah, merchandise.
Yes, we do. We have awesome new merchandise on our store.
Which is, I mean, it's already, by now when this comes out, it's already going to be released.
Yes.
But there is new merchandise on our store that the lovely Kina at Historical AF has so lovingly made for us.
Yes.
She is fantastic at graphic
She's
design.
rocking it. She's hardcore rocking it for us
so Kina,
much.
so Kina, thank you so much for that. I seriously cannot thank you enough. I feel like she's now become like our little personal graphics designer. Because she literally just messaged me and she's like, I had this great idea. What do you think? I'm like, I love it. I'm going to throw money at you. Here, throw money. And I just like, it was fantastic. So we have new merchandise, and I was thinking, about a contest.
Yes.
So
Spoopy contest.
a spoopy contest. So this spoopy contest is send in your stories. And then what we'll do is we will read, once we get in a good number of submissions, we will have another listener story episode.
Yes.
And then from there, we will take a vote. And we will see who had the best listener story. And whoever has the best listener story that was the creepiest, then they will win something from our merchandise store
Yes.
of your choosing.
Yes.
That is not $1 million.
Yes.
But I was thinking that would be.
I think that'd be an awesome contest to have.
I think so. So that means you have to send in your stories to us at cheersfromthegrave@gmail.com. So again, cheersfromthegrave@gmail.com is where you can send in your personal stories.
Yes.
Make sure that they're creepy.
And you can also check out our merchandise by going to www.cheersfromthegrave.com
Yep.
and clicking on the merch tab.
Yep. It's also on Spreadshirt. Just the one thing I've noticed that when you do that, sometimes I notice you have to refresh the page because when you click on merch, sometimes it doesn't always show up. So you have to refresh it for it to show up. But you can also go to spreadshirt.com and go to Cheers from the Grave with Spreadshirt because that's where that's where our merchandise is located. So, but anyway, social media, you can find us on Facebook and on Instagram at
Cheers from the Grave.
and Twitter.
At Cheers from Grave.
Woohoo! And we also have our website, again, at cheersfromthegrave.com. And our email, again, to send us spooky stories is
cheersfromthegrave@gmail.com.
yay!
Yay. Thank you so much for listening to us, guys.
But this is episode 8. However,
Episode 8.
technically, in some ways, it's episode 9 because I labeled our listener story as 7.5 because it's not a true episode. It's just like halfway. But yeah, no, this is awesome.
Yes, and we wouldn't be able to do this without you guys.
Yes, which
Keeping
reminds
us
me.
going.
Which reminds me, if you do like what you hear, you can always, we have a Patreon program. It's on Patreon, Cheers from the Grave. So you can definitely join us on Patreon.
We have $2 and $5 tiers.
Yep. But also, if you just want to literally just donate, we do have a PayPal account that's Cheers from the Grave. So you're more than welcome to donate via PayPal if you just want to do that instead of doing monthly donations. We accept that. So that's cool. I'm not saying give us money, but I'm just saying that if you would like to donate to help us keep this going, especially because this contest that we're going to start running and introducing,
It's going to come from our pockets.
it's going to come from our pockets. And if it goes well, we would like to continue doing so.
Yes.
But donations would be lovely if you guys like to. So, but anyway, but also at the same time, we just love doing this because this is a lot of fun.
This is because I get to hang out at work on slow days and research spooky shit.
Yep.
And it's wonderful.
And also on top of it, we get to hang out
Exactly.
and, be social. So it's awesome. We're rambling.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry, that clipped.
Wow. All right. Well, anyway, I'm Erica.
I'm Stephanie.
And let's wrap this up.
All right.
You guys are awesome. Cheers and spooks.
Yes.
We love you.
Thank you for listening to
Cheers from the Grave. You can stop now.